The training hall of Galactic Military Academy stretched wide enough to hold 300 cadets. Jiwoo stood in the back row, her hands clasped behind her back, her eyes forward. She had learned quickly that standing out was a bad idea here. Humans were new to the galaxy, and most aliens saw them as weak. The instructor's voice boomed across the hall. Velthar was a Krenathi, nearly 8 feet tall with 4 massive arms, and skin that looked like dark purple armor. He had been teaching combat tactics for 20 years, and he made sure everyone knew it. Today he was talking about physical superiority in combat. Strength wins wars, Velthar announced, flexing 2 of his 4 arms. Speed without power is useless. Armor without force behind it means nothing. You must be strong to survive. Jiwoo kept her face blank. She had heard this speech before in different words. Velthar loved to talk about strength. He also loved to point out which species had it and which did not. Let us talk about weakness, Velthar continued, his eyes scanning the room. They landed on the small group of human cadets near the back. Humans, come forward. Jiwoo felt her stomach tighten, but she moved. 5 other humans stepped forward with her. Her friend Hyun-soo was among them, his jaw clenched tight. They formed a line in front of the instructor. Velthar walked along the line slowly, looking down at each human. Look at them, he said to the other cadets. Thin skin, weak bones, only 2 arms, small, fragile. He stopped in front of Jiwoo. This one is even smaller than the others. Some of the alien cadets laughed. Jiwoo kept her eyes forward, her breathing steady. She had trained for years to control her reactions. Velthar wanted a response. She would not give him one. Humans claim they belong in this academy, Velthar said, walking back to the center of the room. They say they can fight alongside Krenathi, Velkron, Torgesh warriors. But look at them. They are prey animals. Their world must be soft, easy, weak like them. More laughter. Jiwoo noticed that not all the aliens were laughing. Some looked uncomfortable. Others watched with curious eyes, waiting to see what would happen. I wonder, Velthar said, turning back to face the humans. Can any of you even survive a real combat demonstration? Or would you break like glass? The room went quiet. Everyone knew what he was doing. A combat demonstration meant a fight. If a superior officer challenged a cadet, academy rules said the cadet had to accept. It was meant to be educational. But Velthar did not want to educate. He wanted to humiliate. You, Velthar pointed at Jiwoo with one of his lower arms. Small human, step forward. Jiwoo moved forward without hesitation. Hyun-soo started to speak, but she caught his eye and shook her head slightly. He fell silent. What is your name? Velthar asked. Cadet Jiwoo, sir. Cadet Jiwoo, Velthar repeated, making her name sound like an insult. Tell me, Cadet, how much combat training do humans receive before coming to this academy? That depends on the individual, sir. Do not play word games with me, Velthar snapped. Are humans trained warriors, or are they farmers playing soldier? Jiwoo kept her voice level. Earth has many military forces, sir. Standards vary. Varying standards, Velthar said to the room. That means weak standards. That means anyone can join, even those who have no business holding a weapon. He looked back at Jiwoo. Tell me your qualifications, Cadet. I served in the Korean Unified Defense Force for 4 years, sir. Special Operations Division. Velthar waved a hand dismissively. Special Operations. Every species claims to have elite soldiers. It means nothing until proven. He gestured to the combat arena in the center of the hall. I challenge you to a demonstration match, Cadet Jiwoo. We will show these cadets the difference between real strength and human weakness. The room erupted in whispers. Several cadets looked shocked. Others leaned forward eagerly. Hyun-soo's face had gone pale. Jiwoo looked at the instructor calmly. I accept, sir. Excellent. Velthar showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. Standard Academy combat rules. First to submit or lose consciousness. Safety protocols active. He started walking toward the arena. This will be quick. Jiwoo followed him to the arena. It was a circular platform 30 feet across, surrounded by energy barriers to protect the spectators. The floor was reinforced metal designed to handle heavy impacts. Velthar stepped onto it easily, his forearms loose and ready. Jiwoo climbed up on the opposite side. She was 5 foot 4 inches tall. Velthar was nearly 8 feet. She weighed maybe 130 pounds. Velthar probably weighed 400. The size difference was enormous. "Begin when ready," the automated referee system announced. Velthar did not wait. He charged forward immediately, using his size and speed to close the distance. Jiwoo moved to the side, but not fast enough. One of his upper arms caught her shoulder and sent her rolling across the platform. The impact was hard. Jiwoo felt it through her whole body. She came up quickly, already moving, but Velthar was there again. This time he used 2 arms to grab her and lift her off the ground. "Is this the best humans can offer?" Velthar asked loudly, holding her up for everyone to see. "Pathetic." He threw her. Jiwoo hit the arena floor hard and skidded to the edge. The energy barrier stopped her from falling off, but the impact knocked the wind from her lungs. She lay there for a moment, gasping. "Stay down, human," Velthar called. "Save yourself further embarrassment." Jiwoo pushed herself up. Her shoulder hurt. Her back hurt. But pain was information, nothing more. She had been hurt worse than this. Much worse. She stood up slowly, rolling her shoulders, testing her range of motion. Velthar looked surprised. "You want more?" "Very well." He came at her again, but this time Jiwoo was ready. She watched his approach differently now. She was not trying to fight him yet. She was learning. How did he move? How did he balance? With 4 arms. Where did his weight shift when he attacked? Velthar hit her twice more, knocking her down both times. But each time, Jiwoo noticed something new. His upper arms were stronger but slower. His lower arms were faster but had less reach. He favored his right side slightly. His footwork was aggressive, but predictable. The 4th time she stood up, something had changed. Hyunsu saw it from his position with the other cadets. He had known Jiwoo for 8 months now. He recognized that look in her eyes. She was done analyzing. Now she was going to act. Velthar charged again, confident now that he had proven his point. His upper right arm came forward in a heavy strike meant to end the fight. Jiwoo moved inside the strike instead of away from it. She was suddenly too close for his long arms to hit effectively. Her elbow came up fast and precise, striking Velthar's lower right elbow joint. It was not a powerful strike, but it hit exactly the right spot. Velthar's arm bent wrong and he grunted in pain. Before he could react, Jiwoo dropped low and swept his front leg. Velthar was off balance from his own attack and the sudden pain. He went down on one knee. For the first time in the fight, Jiwoo was in control of the position. She moved behind him immediately, her arm wrapping around one of his upper arms. She pulled it back at an angle his joint was not meant to bend. Velthar roared and tried to stand, but Jiwoo used his own motion against him, staying on his back where his other arms could not reach her easily. "Submit," she said quietly, just loud enough for him to hear. "Never," Velthar snarled. He reached back with his free upper arm, trying to grab her. Jiwoo pulled harder on the arm she controlled. Something in his shoulder made a popping sound. Velthar screamed. The alien cadets watching were not laughing anymore. They were silent, staring at the small human woman who had somehow gotten a joint lock on their massive instructor. Hyunsu was barely breathing, watching his friend do something impossible. Velthar's scream turned to rage. He forgot about technique and training. He just wanted this human off him. He rolled backward with all his weight, trying to crush her. Jiwoo released the arm and rolled away, coming up in a ready stance. Velthar stood up slowly. One of his arms hung useless. His eyes were wide, not with anger anymore, with something else, something he had not felt in a long time. Fear. Jiwoo stood across from him, breathing hard but steady. Her dark eyes watched him without blinking. Blood ran down her lip from where she had bitten it during one of the early hits. Her uniform was torn, but she stood like a predator, patient and certain. "Continue?" she asked calmly. Velthar looked at her. He looked at his injured arm. He looked at the watching cadets who were now seeing him differently. His pride demanded he continue. His survival instinct screamed at him to stop. He chose pride. "You will regret this, human," he growled, and attacked with all 3 remaining arms. Velthar came at Jiwoo with everything he had. 3 arms struck at once, trying to overwhelm her with pure aggression. Jiwoo dropped under the attack and rolled to the side. She came up near the edge of the arena, giving herself space. The instructor followed, but he was moving differently now. His injured arm threw off his balance. He had trained with 4 arms his entire life. Fighting with 3 felt wrong, and it showed in his movements. Jiwoo saw the weakness. She had been trained to see weaknesses. On Earth, in the Special Operations Division, they taught soldiers to find the smallest advantage and exploit it. Size did not matter. Strength did not matter. What mattered was understanding your enemy better than they understood themselves. Velthar threw a combination of strikes. Upper left, lower right, upper left again. Jiwoo blocked the first, ducked the second, and stepped into the third. She was inside his reach again, where his long arms were useless. Her fist drove into his midsection, right below where his ribs would be on a human. The blow had all of her weight behind it. Velthar made a choking sound and stumbled backward. Jiwoo did not chase. She reset her stance and waited. "You are fast," Velthar admitted, breathing hard. "For a human. But speed is not enough." "No," Jiwoo agreed. "It is not." She moved forward this time, taking the initiative. Her strikes were not as powerful as Velthar's, but they were faster and more accurate. She hit his injured shoulder. She kicked at his knee. She struck pressure points that made his working arms go numb for precious seconds. Velthar tried to grab her, to use his superior strength to crush her, but Jiwoo was like water, flowing around his attacks, never where he expected her to be. Every time he committed to an attack, she made him pay for it. The watching cadets began to murmur. A Velkron female named Talrin leaned forward, her eyes wide. "How is she doing this?" She whispered to the cadet next to her. "She is trained," the other cadet replied. "Really trained. Not academy trained. War trained." Hyun-soo watched his friend fight and felt a chill run down his spine. He had never seen Jiwoo like this. She was always so quiet, so controlled. But now he understood. She had not been calm before. She had been holding back something dangerous. Velthar was getting desperate. His injured arm hung completely useless now. His other arms were tired from swinging at a target that would not stay still. Worse, his pride was dying with every second that passed. A human was fighting him to a standstill. A small human female was making him look weak in front of 300 cadets. "Stand still and fight," he roared. "No," Jiwoo said simply. She moved in again. This time her target was his lower left arm. She caught it in a joint lock, similar to what she had done to his upper arm. But this time she did not just hold it. She twisted hard and fast. The crack echoed through the arena. Velthar's scream was not one of rage this time. It was pure pain. His lower left arm bent at an angle that was clearly wrong. Jiwoo released it and stepped back. 2 arms down. 2 arms remaining. "Submit," Jiwoo said again. "This does not need to continue." Velthar looked at his broken arms. He looked at the human standing calmly before him. His mind could not accept what was happening. He was Kranathi. He was a decorated warrior. He had fought in real wars against real enemies. How was he losing to this tiny creature? Then understanding began to dawn. Slowly, horribly, he started to realize the truth. She was not lucky. She was not just fast. She was better than him. Better trained. Better disciplined. Better at reading combat situations. And she was still holding back. "What are you?" Velthar asked quietly. Jiwoo tilted her head slightly. "I am human." "You said we were weak. You said we were prey animals. You were wrong." "Your world," Velthar said. "What kind of world makes soldiers like you?" "The kind of world where everything wants to kill you," Jiwoo replied. "The kind of world where you learn to hunt or die. Where gravity pulls harder than most planets. Where storms can level cities and animals grow bigger than your combat vehicles. We call it Earth, we call it home." The words hung in the air. Around the arena, cadets from a dozen different species exchanged looks. They knew about death worlds. Planets where evolution ran wild and survival was a constant battle. But Earth had been classified as a moderate world in the databases. Someone had made a mistake. A big mistake. Velthar charged one last time. He had nothing left but pride and rage. His two working arms reached for Jiwoo, trying to grab her, to crush her, to make her stop being better than him. Jiwoo did not dodge this time. She stepped forward to meet him. Her left hand caught his upper right wrist. Her right hand caught his lower right wrist. For a moment they were locked together, his strength against hers. Velthar pushed down with all his might. Jiwoo's arms trembled. She was strong for her size, but he still had raw power. He began to force her down. His face showed triumph. Then Jiwoo did something unexpected. She stopped resisting. She dropped straight down, pulling Velthar with her. His own momentum and strength carried him forward, off balance. As he fell past her, Jiwoo's knee came up. It caught him in the throat. Velthar hit the ground, gasping, unable to breathe. Jiwoo was on him instantly. Her arm wrapped around his thick neck in a chokehold. She positioned herself on his back, her legs hooked around his body to control him. "Submit," she said for the third time. Velthar could not speak. He could barely breathe. His working arms scrabbled at her, trying to pull her off. But her position was perfect. Every movement he made only tightened the hold. "Submit or sleep," Jiwoo said calmly. "Your choice." Velthar's movements became weaker. His vision started to blur. Unconsciousness was seconds away. Finally, with the last of his strength, he tapped his hand against the arena floor 3 times. The universal signal of submission. Jiwoo held the position for 1 more second, making sure it was not a trick. Then she released him and rolled away, coming to her feet. Velthar lay on the arena floor, gasping for air, cradling his broken arms. The training hall was completely silent. 300 cadets stared at the scene before them. A massive Krenathi instructor lay defeated on the arena floor. A small human woman stood over him, barely winded, her eyes calm. Then someone started clapping. Slowly at first. It was Talrin, the Velkron female. She had been humiliated by Velthar in training 2 months ago. Seeing him defeated felt like justice. Others joined in. Not all of them. Many of the alien cadets still looked shocked or angry, but enough clapped that the sound filled the hall. The human cadets clapped loudest of all, their faces showing pride and relief. Hyunsu was grinning so wide his face hurt. Jiwoo had not just won. She had destroyed every assumption the aliens had about humans. She had proved that humanity belonged here. Jiwoo did not smile. She walked to the edge of the arena and climbed down. Her hands were shaking now that the fight was over. Adrenaline was leaving her system, and the pain of the hits she had taken was starting to register fully. "Medical team to Training Hall 7, the automated system announced. "Immediate assistance required." 2 medics rushed past Jiwoo toward Velthar. One of them, a 3-eyed Torgash, glanced at her as he passed. "You did this?" he asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "Yes," Jiwoo said quietly. The medic shook his head and continued to the arena. Jiwoo walked back to where Hyunsu and the other humans stood. They parted to let her through, looking at her with new eyes. "Jiwoo," Hyunsu said. "That was incredible. How did you—" "Not now," she said softly. Her legs felt weak suddenly. The adrenaline crash was hitting hard. "I need to sit." Hyunsu helped her to a bench against the wall. The other cadets kept their distance, still processing what they had witnessed. Jiwoo sat down heavily and put her head in her hands. "Are you hurt?" Hyunsu asked, concerned. "Nothing serious," Jiwoo replied. "Bruises. Maybe a cracked rib. I will be fine." "That was not academy fighting," Hyunsu said quietly. "That was something else." "That was survival fighting," Jiwoo said. "Real fighting. The kind they teach when losing means dying." She looked up at him. I did not want to hurt him that badly, but he did not give me a choice. On the arena floor, the medics were stabilizing Velthar. His arms would heal, but it would take time. More importantly, something else had broken today. His reputation, his authority, his belief in his own superiority. The cadets began to file out of the training hall, talking in urgent whispers. The humans walked together closer than usual, drawing strength from each other. They had been mocked and dismissed since arriving at the academy. Today that changed. Jiwoo stood up slowly. Every muscle in her body ached. But she walked out of the training hall with her head high. Behind her, Velthar was being carried out on a medical stretcher. In the corridor, a senior officer stood watching. Director Kwanmin, the human who had helped establish the academy exchange program. He had arrived too late to stop the fight, but he had seen enough. His expression was troubled. Jiwoo had won, yes, But this would have consequences. Big consequences. The Krenathi were a proud species. Having one of their decorated officers defeated by a human cadet would not be accepted quietly. "Cadet Jiwoo," he called. She stopped and turned, coming to attention. "Sir, come with me," he said. "We need to talk." Director Kwanmin's office was simple and clean. No decorations. No personal items. Just a desk, 2 chairs, and a large window showing the stars beyond the station. Jiwoo stood at attention in front of the desk, her hands behind her back. Kwanmin sat down and gestured to the other chair. "Sit, Cadet. This is not a formal disciplinary meeting. Not yet." Jiwoo sat carefully. Her ribs hurt more now than they had immediately after the fight. She kept her face neutral, showing no pain. "Do you understand what you have done?" Kwanmin asked. "I defended myself in a sanctioned training match, sir." "You humiliated a decorated Krenathi officer in front of 300 witnesses," Kwanmin said flatly. "You broke 2 of his arms. You choked him unconscious. That goes far beyond self-defense." "He did not give me another option, sir," Jiwoo replied. "I tried to end it. 3 times I gave him the chance to submit. He refused." Kwanmin leaned back in his chair, studying her. "I read your file before you came here. Korean Unified Defense Force, Special Operations, 4 years of service, decorated for action during the Busan incursion." He paused. "The file did not mention how dangerous you actually are." "I did not think it was relevant, sir." "Not relevant?" Kwanmin's voice rose slightly. "You are trained to kill, Cadet. You are trained in techniques that most species in this academy have never even heard of, and you did not think that was relevant?" Jiwoo met his eyes. "Every soldier in this academy is trained to kill, sir. That is what soldiers do. The only difference is that I am human, and I am good at it." Kwanmin was quiet for a moment. Then he sighed. "Fair enough. Tell me what happened. Everything." Jiwoo described the training session, Velthar's mockery, his challenge, the fight itself. She spoke calmly and precisely, leaving nothing out. Kwanmin listened without interrupting. "He has done this before," Jiwoo finished. "I have heard the stories. Other cadets from smaller species. He finds ways to hurt them and calls it training. Someone needed to stop him." "That someone did not need to be you," Kwanmin said. "Do you know what this will cause? The Krenathi are one of the most powerful military forces in the Galactic Coalition. Having one of their officers broken by a human cadet will create political problems." "Should I have let him break me instead?" Jiwoo asked quietly. Kwanmin had no answer for that. He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "When humanity joined the coalition, we made promises. We said we would follow their rules, respect their traditions, prove we could work alongside them peacefully." He turned back to face her. "You just made that much harder." "I am sorry, sir. But I am not sorry for winning." "I know," Kwanmin said, "and that is what worries me. There will be an inquiry, a formal tribunal. Velthar will demand it. The Krenathi leadership will demand it. They will want you expelled. They may want you prosecuted." Jiwoo felt a chill. "What will happen, sir?" "I do not know yet," Kwanmin admitted. "But whatever happens, you must be prepared. Tell the truth, show respect, and for the love of Earth, do not fight anyone else before the tribunal." "Yes, sir." "Dismissed. Get yourself to medical." "That is an order." Jiwoo stood, saluted, and left the office. In the corridor outside, Hyunsu was waiting. He fell into step beside her. "What did he say?" Hyunsu asked. "Tribunal. Probably expulsion. Maybe worse." "That is not right," Hyunsu said angrily. "You were defending yourself. Everyone saw what Velthar did." "That may not matter," Jiwoo said. "Politics is complicated, and right now I am a political problem." They walked to the medical wing in silence. The corridors were busy with cadets changing between training sessions. Every single one of them stopped to stare at Jiwoo. Some looked impressed. Others looked hostile. None looked indifferent. The medical wing was clean and bright. A Torgash doctor scanned Jiwoo with a handheld device, frowning at the readings. "Cracked rib, as you suspected," the doctor said. "Deep bruising across your back and shoulders. Minor concussion. You should be in bed for 3 days minimum." "I have training tomorrow," Jiwoo said. "Not anymore, you do not," the doctor replied firmly. "Medical override. 3 days rest. That is final." Jiwoo wanted to argue but knew it was pointless. The doctor gave her medication for the pain and sent her to her quarters. Hyun-soo walked with her. "Get some sleep," he said at her door. "I will check on you later." "Thank you," Ji-woo said. Inside her small room, she finally allowed herself to feel the full weight of what had happened. She had won the fight, but she might have lost everything else. The Academy was her chance at a better future, a chance to help humanity prove itself among the stars. Now that chance was slipping away. She lay down on her bed carefully, trying not to aggravate her ribs. Sleep came hard, filled with dreams of the fight playing over and over. 3 days passed slowly. Ji-woo stayed in her room as ordered, studying and healing. Hyun-soo brought her meals and news. The station was buzzing with talk. The video of the fight had been shared everywhere. Humans across Earth were celebrating. Aliens were arguing about what it meant. On the morning of the 4th day, Ji-woo received a formal summons. The tribunal would convene that afternoon. She was to appear and answer questions about the incident. She dressed in her formal academy uniform. Dark blue with silver trim, she checked her appearance in the mirror. The bruises on her face had faded to yellow. She looked pale but composed. The tribunal chamber was a large circular room with seats arranged in tiers. The 5 judges sat at the highest level. Below them, seats for witnesses and observers. The room was packed. Ji-woo recognized cadets from every species represented at the academy. Velthar was there, seated to one side. His arms were still in regeneration casts. He looked at Ji-woo with pure hatred. The chief judge was a Velkron male named Torvan. His voice was deep and authoritative. "This tribunal is convened to investigate the incident between Instructor Velthar and Cadet Ji-woo. The charges are assault on a superior officer and excessive force in a training exercise." Ji-woo stood in the center of the room alone. The judges looked down at her. 5 different species, 5 different perspectives on what she had done. "Cadet Ji-woo," Torvan said, "you are accused of serious violations of Academy protocol." "How do you plead?" "Not guilty, sir," Ji-woo said clearly. Velthar stood, wincing at the movement. "She broke my arms. She nearly killed me. And she pleads not guilty?" "You will have your chance to speak, instructor," Torvan said firmly. "Sit down." The tribunal proceeded methodically. First, they showed the video of the fight. Ji-woo watched herself on the screen, seeing it from outside perspectives. It looked brutal. She understood why they were concerned. Then they called witnesses. Velthar spoke first, describing how he had simply offered a training demonstration, and Ji-woo had attacked him with savage violence. "I was trying to teach," Velthar said. "She was trying to kill." Ji-woo kept her face blank, but inside she was angry. He was lying, twisting what happened to make himself the victim. Then other witnesses spoke. Several cadets confirmed Velthar's version of events. They were all from larger, stronger species. All species that benefited from the current hierarchy. But then Talrin stood. The Velkron female walked to the center of the chamber nervously. "I have something to say," she began, "about Instructor Velthar." "Proceed," Torvan said. "2 months ago, he challenged me to a demonstration match," Talrin said. "Like he did with Ji-woo. He said it was training. But it was not training. It was punishment. Punishment for being small. For being weak in his eyes." Her voice grew stronger. "He broke my leg in 3 places. He said it was an accident. But I saw his face. He enjoyed it." The chamber erupted in whispers. Torvan called for silence. "I was afraid to speak before," Talrin continued. "Afraid of what would happen if I accused an instructor. But after watching Ji-woo fight back, I realized I was wrong to stay silent. Velthar has been doing this for years. Hurting cadets he considers inferior. Ji-woo is not the criminal here. She is the one who finally stopped him." Velthar jumped to his feet. "Lies, this is a conspiracy." "Sit down," Torvan ordered. "We will investigate these claims." More cadets came forward. Not many, but enough. Stories of injuries, of humiliation, of Velthar's systematic abuse of anyone he deemed weak. The picture that emerged was damning. Finally, they called Ji-woo to speak. She stood in the center again, facing the judges. "Tell us your perspective, Cadet," Torvan said. Ji-woo spoke calmly and clearly. She described Velthar's mockery, his challenge, the fight itself. She explained each decision she made and why. "I gave him 3 chances to submit," she said. "I did not want to hurt him badly, but he would not stop. He was trying to prove I was weak. To prove all humans were weak, I could not allow that." You could have submitted yourself, one of the judges suggested. Avoided the fight entirely. No, sir, Jiwoo said. I could not, because it was not about me. It was about every human who will come after me. Every cadet from every small species who has been told they do not belong. If I had submitted, I would have confirmed everything Velthar believes. I had to prove him wrong. The chamber was silent. Every eye was on Jiwoo. The tribunal chamber was completely silent as Torvan began to speak. Jiwoo could feel her heart beating hard in her chest. Everything she had worked for depended on the next few minutes. This tribunal has reviewed all evidence and testimony, Torvan said, his voice carrying through the chamber. We have watched the video recordings multiple times. We have heard from numerous witnesses, and we have considered the broader implications of this incident. He paused, looking down at the assembled cadets. His eyes lingered on Jiwoo for a moment. The charges against Cadet Jiwoo are assault on a superior officer and excessive force in a training exercise. These are serious charges. If proven, they would result in immediate expulsion and possible criminal prosecution. Velthar smiled from his seat. He thought he had won. However, Torvan continued, the evidence does not support these charges. The smile disappeared from Velthar's face. Academy regulations are clear, Torvan said. When a superior officer issues a challenge for a demonstration match, the cadet has two options: accept or face disciplinary action for refusing a direct order. Cadet Jiwoo accepted the challenge as required. Once the match began, standard combat rules applied. Those rules state that a match continues until one participant submits or loses consciousness. Torvan looked directly at Velthar now. Instructor Velthar, you submitted, eventually, but only after refusing to submit 3 separate times when offered the opportunity. The excessive force was necessary because you refused to acknowledge defeat. You forced the cadet to escalate to ensure her own safety. Velthar stood again, his face darkening. She is a human, a weak species. She should never have been able to— That is enough! Torvan cut him off sharply. Your prejudice is showing, instructor, and it is unbecoming of your position. He turned to address the full chamber. This tribunal has also heard testimony about previous incidents involving Instructor Velthar. Multiple cadets have come forward with accounts of excessive force, deliberate injury, and systematic harassment. We had reports of these incidents before, but they were never properly investigated. Another judge, a female Torgash named Kira, spoke up. The injury to Cadet Talren 2 months ago was classified as a training accident, but medical records show her leg was broken in a pattern consistent with deliberate force, not accidental impact. We should have questioned this at the time. We failed in our duty. Velthar's face went from dark red to pale purple. He sat down heavily, understanding finally dawning. This was not about Jiwoo. This was about him. After careful deliberation, Torvan announced, this tribunal finds Cadet Jiwoo not guilty of all charges. She acted within Academy regulations and in self-defense. Her actions, while violent, were proportional to the threat she faced. The chamber erupted. Human cadets cheered. Many alien cadets looked shocked. Others nodded in approval. Hyunsu grabbed Jiwoo in a tight hug, forgetting about her injuries. She gasped but did not pull away. Furthermore, Torvan said, speaking loudly over the noise, this tribunal recommends that Instructor Velthar face a full investigation into his conduct. Pending that investigation, he is suspended from all teaching duties effective immediately. This is outrageous, Velthar shouted, standing again. I am a decorated warrior. I have served the Coalition for 20 years. You cannot, and we can, and we will, Torvan said coldly. Your service record does not excuse abuse of the cadets in your care. You will surrender your instructor credentials and report to administrative review within the hour. If you refuse, security will escort you. Velthar looked around the chamber, seeking support, but even the cadets from his own species looked away. No one wanted to defend him now, not after hearing what he had done to others. He turned and walked out of the chamber, his posture stiff with rage and humiliation. The doors closed behind him. Torvan waited until the noise died down. Cadet Jiwoo, please stand. Jiwoo stood, releasing Hyunsu's hand. She faced the judges, her expression calm. This tribunal wishes to make something clear, Torvan said. You are not being found innocent because you are human. You are being found innocent because you followed the rules, defended yourself appropriately, and showed restraint even when provoked. These are the qualities we want in all cadets, regardless of species. Thank you, sir, Jiwoo said. However, Kira added, we must also address something else. Your combat skills far exceed what we expect from a standard cadet. The techniques you used are not taught in any academy curriculum we know of. Where did you learn to fight like that? Jiwoo chose her words carefully. Earth has many combat traditions, sir. Some are very old. I trained in several of them before joining the Defense Force. Then the Defense Force taught me more. Be specific, Kira pressed. Taekwondo for striking, Hapkido for joint locks, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for ground fighting, Krav Maga for practical combat. The Defense Force added tactical training, weapons training, and psychological preparation for high-stress situations. The judges exchanged looks. These were unfamiliar terms, but the meaning was clear. Earth had developed sophisticated methods of combat over thousands of years. Methods that the galaxy had underestimated. Your planet, Torvin said slowly. Earth. It was classified as a moderate world in our databases. But the way you fight, the way you endure pain, your speed and strength relative to your size, these suggest something different. Jiwoo hesitated. This was dangerous ground. But lying to the tribunal would be worse than the truth. Earth is a death world, sir, she said quietly. Or very close to one. Higher gravity than most inhabited planets. Aggressive predators. Violent weather. Humanity evolved to survive in constant danger. We learned to hunt animals bigger and stronger than us. We learned to endure pain and keep fighting. We learned to never give up because giving up meant death. The chamber was completely silent now. Every cadet, every judge was listening intently. The database classified Earth wrong, Jiwoo continued. Not because anyone lied, but because humans did not realize we were unusual. We thought every species struggled like we did, fought like we did. When we met the coalition, we tried to fit in. We tried to seem civilized and peaceful. But underneath, we are still what we always were. Survivors, hunters, warriors. Torvin leaned back in his seat, processing this information. This changes our understanding significantly. If humans are deathworlders, even moderate ones, then our assumptions about your species need to be revised. With respect, sir, Jiwoo said, I'm just one human. Others may not be as trained as I am. Please do not judge all of humanity by me. On the contrary, Kira said, if you represent even a fraction of human potential, then humanity is going to surprise many people in the coalition, possibly unpleasantly. Director Kwanmin stood from where he had been sitting with the observers. May I speak? Proceed, Torvin said. Kwanmin walked to the center of the chamber. I have been the human representative to this academy for 2 years. In that time, I have watched humans struggle to adapt to a galaxy that sees us as weak. We have tried to prove ourselves through academics, through diplomacy, through being good cadets and following every rule. He looked at Jiwoo. Today, Cadet Jiwoo proved we do not have to be ashamed of what we are. Yes, we are from a harsh world. Yes, we are dangerous when pushed. But we are also disciplined, honorable, and capable of great restraint. Jiwoo could have killed Instructor Velthar in the first 10 seconds of that fight. Instead, she gave him 3 chances to surrender. That is not savagery. That is civilization. Several cadets nodded in agreement. Even some of the alien cadets who had been skeptical looked thoughtful. This incident has revealed problems that existed long before Cadet Jiwoo arrived, Kwanmin continued. Instructor Velthar's abuse. The Academy's failure to investigate complaints from smaller species. The assumption that might makes right. These problems need to be fixed. Agreed, Torvin said. This tribunal recommends a full review of Academy training protocols and instructor conduct. We will also be updating our classification of Earth in the Coalition databases. He looked at Jiwoo again. Cadet, you are free to return to your training. All charges are dismissed. However, I want you to understand something. What happened today will follow you for the rest of your career. Some will respect you for it. Others will fear you. Some will hate you. Can you live with that? Jiwoo thought about the question. She thought about all the times she had been mocked, dismissed, underestimated. She thought about Talrin and the other victims who had suffered in silence. She thought about the humans who would come after her, who would face the same prejudice she had faced. Yes, sir, she said firmly. I can live with it. Then this tribunal is adjourned. The chamber emptied slowly. Cadets filed out, talking excitedly. Jiwoo was surrounded immediately by other humans, all congratulating her. Hyunsu stayed close, making sure she did not get jostled and hurt her ribs. Talrin approached, moving through the crowd. When she reached Jiwoo, she bowed in the Velcron style, low and respectful. "Thank you," Talrin said, "for stopping him, for giving me the courage to speak." "You did not need my courage," Jiwoo replied. "You had your own. You just needed permission to use it." 6 weeks had passed since the tribunal. The academy had changed in ways both obvious and subtle. Velthar was gone, dishonorably discharged after the investigation confirmed years of abuse. 3 other instructors had been suspended pending review. The entire training program was being restructured, and Jiwoo had become something she never expected to be, a teacher. The combat training facility was packed. 60 cadets from 15 different species filled the space, all watching Jiwoo with varying degrees of curiosity, skepticism, and respect. Some were human. Most were not. They had signed up for her new course, Human Combat Tactics, for different reasons. Some wanted to learn from the cadet who had broken a Krenathi instructor. Others wanted to understand how humans fought. A few, Jiwoo suspected, were there to prove she had just been lucky. She stood at the front of the room in a simple training uniform. Her ribs had healed completely. The bruises had faded, but the memory of the fight remained fresh in everyone's mind. "Good morning," Jiwoo began. Her voice was quiet but carried clearly. "Welcome to Human Combat Tactics. Before we begin, I want to make something clear. This course is not about teaching you to fight like me. It is about teaching you to understand how humans think about combat." A Torgash cadet raised one of his 3 hands. "Is there a difference?" "Yes," Jiwoo said. "Technique is easy to learn. Philosophy is harder. Anyone can memorize a joint lock. But understanding why humans use joint locks requires understanding how we see the world." She walked to the center of the training mat. Humans come from a planet where almost everything was stronger than us, faster than us, had better weapons than us. Our teeth are weak. Our claws are tiny. Our skin tears easily. By every measure, we should have been prey animals. Extinct prey animals. The cadets watched, some leaning forward with interest. "But we survived," Jiwoo continued. "We survived by being smarter, more adaptable, more stubborn. We learned that size and strength do not matter if you understand leverage. That speed does not matter if you understand timing. That natural weapons do not matter if you create better weapons." She gestured to Talrin, who stood at the edge of the mat. "Cadet Talrin, please join me." Talrin walked onto the mat. She was nearly 6 feet tall, well-muscled with the natural advantages of her species. Jiwoo stood a full 8 inches shorter and probably weighed 40 pounds less. "Talrin is stronger than me," Jiwoo said. "Faster than me. Has better reach. In a pure contest of physical ability, she wins. But combat is not a pure contest." She looked at Talrin. "Grab my wrist. Use your full strength." Talrin hesitated. "I do not want to hurt you, but you will not. Trust me." "Grab my wrist." Talrin grabbed Jiwoo's right wrist with both hands holding tight. The size difference was obvious. Talrin's hands completely engulfed Jiwoo's wrist. "Now what?" Talrin asked. "Now I escape," Jiwoo said calmly. She twisted her arm in a specific way, rotating against Talrin's thumbs, the weakest point of any grip. Her wrist slipped free easily. Before Talrin could react, Jiwoo had caught one of her arms in a lock. "Leverage," Jiwoo said, maintaining the gentle hold. "Your strength does not matter if I am not fighting against your strength. I am fighting against the structure of your joints, which have limits regardless of how strong your muscles are." She released Talrin and stepped back. "This is the first principle of human combat. Do not fight force with force. Redirect it, use it, make it work against itself." For the next hour, Jiwoo taught basic principles. Not specific techniques yet, but concepts. How to move efficiently, how to read an opponent's balance, how to find weaknesses in any defense. The cadets practiced with partners, learning through repetition. Hyunsu assisted, walking between pairs and offering corrections. He had been training with Jiwoo for months now and understood her methods well. A young human female named Bora struggled with a joint lock. Her partner, a Velcron male, was too flexible for the technique to work properly. "Cadet instructor," Bora called. "This does not work on him." Jiwoo came over and observed. "Good, you found the limitation. Every technique has limitations. That is why we learn many techniques. Show me what you tried," Bora demonstrated. Jiwoo nodded. "His elbow bends differently than a human's. That lock will not work. But his knee joint is similar to ours. Try this instead." She showed Bora an alternative technique targeting the knee. Bora practiced it slowly, then faster. It worked. Never assume a technique will work on every species, Jiwoo told the class. Study anatomy. Understand your opponent's structure. Adapt. By the end of the first session, the cadets were tired but engaged. Several approached Jiwoo with questions as the class ended. Cadet instructor, a Krenathi female named Rishal asked, "Why did you give Velthar 3 chances to submit? In real combat, mercy can get you killed." Jiwoo considered the question carefully. This is an important distinction. In a real war, fighting an enemy who wants you dead, you do what you must to survive. No mercy needed. But Velthar was not my enemy. He was a bully. Bullies need different treatment. I do not understand, Reshal said. If I had seriously hurt Velthar immediately, people would say I was savage, violent, that I proved humans are dangerous and uncivilized. Jiwoo explained. But by giving him chances to surrender, I showed restraint, discipline, honor. When he refused and forced me to hurt him, everyone saw that he made that choice. Not me. Rishal's eyes widened with understanding. You were fighting 2 battles. One physical, one political. Exactly, Jiwoo said. That is another human principle. We think several moves ahead. We consider consequences beyond the immediate fight. As the cadets filed out, Director Kwanmin entered. He watched the last few students leave before approaching Jiwoo. The course is going well, he observed. Thank you, sir. The students are eager to learn. I have news, Kwanmin said. The Coalition Council has requested a demonstration. They want to see human combat capabilities firsthand. They are sending observers next month. Jiwoo felt a knot form in her stomach. They want to evaluate us. Yes, after what happened with Velthar, there are questions. Some council members are concerned about having humans in the military. Others are interested in recruiting more. This demonstration will influence policy for decades. No pressure then, Jiwoo said dryly. Kwanmin smiled slightly. You have already done the hard part. You proved humans belong here. Now you just need to prove it again, with the entire coalition watching. Over the next month, Jiwoo trained harder than ever. She pushed her students, preparing them for the demonstration. She worked with Hyunsu to develop routines that would showcase human abilities, without seeming aggressive or threatening. It was a careful balance. Too much restraint and they would seem weak. Too much aggression and they would seem dangerous. They needed to be impressive but controlled. Capable but not threatening. The day of the demonstration arrived. The training facility had been reconfigured for the event. Seating for 200 observers surrounded the main arena. Representatives from every major coalition species attended. Some were military officials. Others were politicians. All were there to judge humanity. Jiwoo stood with her demonstration team. 20 humans, carefully selected. They wore clean training uniforms, their expressions calm and professional. Jiwoo had drilled them on discipline, on showing respect, on representing their entire species. Remember, she told them quietly, we are not just showing techniques today. We are showing who we are. Stay focused. Stay controlled. Make Earth proud. They nodded, faces serious. The demonstration began with basics. Movement drills showing human speed and agility. Striking demonstrations on reinforced targets showing power generation. The observers watched politely but without much interest. These were standard military skills. Then Jiwoo moved to the more impressive material. Hyunsu attacked her with a training weapon. She disarmed him in 3 moves, each one flowing smoothly into the next. The weapon clattered across the floor. Human combat emphasizes weapon retention and disarmament, Jiwoo explained to the observers. We evolved without natural weapons, so we became very good at taking weapons from others and using them ourselves. She demonstrated with several partners. Larger aliens, stronger aliens. Each time she found a way to neutralize their advantages. Joint locks, throws, pressure point strikes. The observers began to pay closer attention. For the finale, Jiwoo had planned something special. A full-contact sparring match against Bo-Ra. Both women would wear protective gear and fight at full intensity for 3 minutes. The match was fast and technical. Bo-Ra had learned well and pushed Jiwoo hard. They exchanged strikes and grappling positions, each one demonstrating different aspects of human combat doctrine. When time expired, both were breathing hard but still standing. The observers applauded politely. Jiwoo bowed to Bo-Ra, showing respect. Then one of the observers stood. He was a Krenathi general named Tormak. Impressive, he said, his voice carrying across the arena. But I